communication. Let's now have a look at the different types of employment offered at the agency.
We now move to a new slide, and as you can see from it, we offer different types of employment and various possibilities to join the agency in different capacities and contractual modalities. For example, as a junior professional officers through the JPO program, or through the internship program, but you can also join as a general service or professional staff. For your information, we also have past webinars which have been dedicated to different types of employment that we offer at the agency, and you can access and watch them through our official employment page. So if you go to our public website in the employment section and you search a little bit, you can easily find the past webinars which covers these areas. Today we will provide you with an overview of the professional and general service posts within the agency. We now move to a new slide which covers the professional posts, the so-called P posts. So what are the professional posts? Professional staff members of the IAEA comprise of a multicultural and international, I would say most international group of specialists who carry out the programs of the agency. Candidates interested in professional posts with the agency are expected to have at least a university degree and appropriate prior work experience in their chosen profession. They support the functions of the IAEA by contributing as individual experts as well as offering specialized skills that are usually very specific to the nature of the IAEA's work. So also we have very technical and very specific positions which covers different activities in the area of the departments that we just mentioned. Professional staff, for example, include nuclear engineers, nuclear physicists, nuclear safeguards inspectors, mathematicians, biologists, chemists, marine scientists, and other scientific and technical occupational groups. Additionally, we also have professional staff in functions such as human resources, translation, budget and finance, procurement, general services, so different areas of different professional and occupational areas. And of course, we accept application from the international community, and the agency would support in the work visa application process for the candidates that have been actually selected. As an international staff moving to Austria, where we have our headquarters, we offer an attractive benefits and entitlements package, which includes educational grants, rental subsidy, relocation assistance, just to name a few, but we also have others. So it is definitely a quite attractive and interesting package, the one that we offer. Professional staff at the agency may be hired under various types of contract with different durations, and the duration itself is it's always specified in our vacancy announcement. The agency has a sort of employment duration policy which applies to internationally recruited staff members, and according to this policy, the maximum period of service within the agency is 7 years. Of course, this is always subject to programmatic needs and fundings. It is extremely important to note that the appointments do not carry any expectancy, legal or of any other nature, of renewal or conversion, irrespective of the duration of the service. Professional staff are categorized by level, so the professional levels, they start from P1 to P5, and then above we have the so-called directors, which go from D1 to D2. As you can see from on the slide, the minimum requirements to qualify for professional posts vary by level. So let's go in detail. Minimum requirements for P1 to P3 positions is a university degree, so first level university degree, from minimum work experience up to 5 years for typically necessary for a P3 positions. When I talk of professional experience, of course I'm talking of relevant professional experience, so which is somehow directly related to the experience necessary for the position you're interested in and you want to apply to. P4, P5, D1, and D2, so we are obviously talking of more senior position, usually typically managerial positions, but not necessarily. So normally an advanced university degree is necessary, master's or equivalent, and between 7 and 15 years of experience, of relevant experience, again, are necessary. Also, you must have some sort of resource management experience because, as I said before, these are often managerial positions. Some elements are, and some skills somehow are applicable to all the P positions, P and D positions. So the ideal candidates must possess strong analytical skills, and of course, I mean, computer skills goes without saying that nowadays the robust knowledge of the standard Microsoft Office package is necessary. Languages, of course, fluency in English and is often mandatory. Working knowledge of other official languages such as Arabic, Chinese, French, Russian, and Spanish is definitely an asset. In some cases, we also require fluency in for example, Spanish or French for a specific position that deal with geographical areas where Spanish and French, for example, are the official languages. And of course, ability to work effectively in a multidisciplinary, multicultural teams. As you can imagine, the IAEA, being part of the UN system, is a very diverse and inclusive organization. So candidates are expected to work with people from all over the world and any kind of cultural background and diverse nationalities. And of course, ability to communicate effectively. So communication is a key skill. We can. You will allow me to drink a bit of water.
Thank you, Stefano. So let's now have a look at the GS position, the second category. So the general service position. Okay. So general service staff member provide administrative, technical, and scientific support. The recruitment for all general service posts is on a local basis only, and applicants must be legally residing and authorized to work in the country of their respective duty station. For example, applicants must be legally residing in Austria for Vienna or Cybersdorf-based position. Cybersdorf is where we have our laboratories. And as a matter of fact, we have, on top of Vienna, laboratories, as I said, in Cybersdorf and Monaco, where also positions are available for GS post. The agency normally hires general service staff with the relevant experience in the following fields: administrative support staff, laboratory technician, secretary, team assistant, program management assistant. The requirements include possessing a secondary school education and the required years of work experience as stated in the vacancy note.
Okay, so now we will dive into planning your application. We would like to recommend the following before you apply. Please carefully read the job description and ask yourself the questions we have stated on the slide. What are the main tasks and projects of the work unit? Is this work area of interest to you? Do you have the relevant education, skills, and experience? Would you enjoy the tasks associated with the position? And how would the position fit in your career development plans? You need to consider the fit of your application for the vacancy in question, if the position is of interest to you and your career development. Once you have found a position that is of interest to you, we will now review a sample vacancy announcement and describe the content.
Okay, so this is Christine. So let's just review an actual vacancy notice that we have on our current website. So in this case, we're referring to the Associate IT Systems Engineer that's currently posted. And you will find at the top of each vacancy notice some critical information. So one is you'll see the job title, the position you're applying for or have interest in. You'll see the organization, and this basically tells you where this position is at, which department, and in this case, it's under the Department of Management, under the IT or Information Technology Division, and it's under the Service Design Unit. Okay. Primary location refers to the duty station, and in this case, the duty station is based in Vienna, Austria, at our headquarters. It also shows you the job posting period, the start date, and as well as the closing date. And this is very, very important because all applications need to be submitted within this period of time. It also shares or tells you in terms of the initial contract period, and in this case it states 36 months, which is equivalent to our 3 years, and the contract type, which is fixed term regular. And the probation period is normally the first 12 months, which is the first year. Okay? It is important that you approach the application process very carefully in order to have the right expectations and to provide the appropriate amount of information to the hiring managers and the evaluators who will be evaluating your application throughout the whole process. Please don't forget that the agency receives hundreds of applications per vacancy. So it's really important to make sure you put in some effort to make sure that your application allows you to stand out and allows us to get to know you a little bit better. So let's move to the next slide, and this will basically describe to you a little bit more about the organization setting. So the organization setting provides the organization structure, how this position basically fits within the agency. And it also describes at a high level the work objectives of the concerned hiring entity. Okay? The main purpose describes how the position will contribute to the work deliverables of the unit or section. And the role describes the main functions of the position. For example, is it a technical specialist? And in this case, it's stated here, it's a technical specialist. It's a team member that would support the service delivery, as well as a project team member coordinating with other stakeholders. Okay? So we'll move to the next slide, which touches a little bit about the key functions, as well as the key results expected. So the key functions is really what we would normally find the job duties of a position, and the key results are the deliverables that you'll be expected to perform in this function. When you look at this particular section of the job description, please ask yourself the following question. Do you have the relevant experience related to the functions described in the vacancy, and do your skills align with the needs of the position? And how can you show your relevant experience as it relates to the position in your profile? Okay? So the next section of the vacancy announcement is on the competencies. Okay? Just to share with you, as being part of the UN Common System, our core values are integrity, professionalism, and respect for diversity. All international civil servants are expected to adhere to these core values. In addition to this, the agency, we also have what we call core competencies, and our core competencies are planning and organizing, as you see on the slide, communication, achieving results, and teamwork. So this is very important that this is an expectation that all staff members of the IAEA must have these 4 core competencies. Below that, you will see what we call functional competencies. This is we list additional 3 competencies which are critical for the function of the position. So for example, in this position as in the IT systems, as an associate IT systems engineer, client orientation is important, the commitment to continuous process improvement, as well as technical and scientific credibility is important. So these are additional competencies that we do expect our candidates or applicants to possess. Okay? And I'll move on to the next slide, which talks a little bit about the expertise. Under the area of expertise, you will see 2 different sections. One is the required expertise, and the other one is asset expertise. Under the required expertise, you will see a list of different IT expertise that's required. So in this case, there's computer operations, there's end-user support, there's IT security, there's information security, and project management and system administration. As the role had indicated earlier, for example, about a project team member, as such, you'll see under one of the required expertise, there's project management here, and the ability to be able to work with different stakeholders. So it's really important that this candidate or applicants who are applying for the position have these required expertise as well. And when it says that it's a required expertise, we do expect that the applicants do demonstrate some of these expertise in their application process. The asset expertise are what we would call desirable, are skills or knowledge or experience that are desirable. We don't expect all applicants to have every skill or every experience. So these are what we have, the hiring entity has determined as assets. If candidates do have this, it's of course desirable, but not a must in our evaluation. Okay. And the next slide is very, very important. It touches on the qualification, experience, and language skills. This really helps recruiters do our initial pre-screening. So the qualification listed are the education qualification. And as Stefano had indicated earlier, for professionals, it's usually starts at a university, first-level university degree. So in this case, for this P2 position, it states bachelor's degree, university degree in computer science, information technology, or related field. We do also indicate other non-degree programs which are desirable but may not be necessary, and a minimum of 2 years of relevant experience in IT infrastructures. So this, again, is a required experience that we would assess a candidate's application from. We also do expect really a good command of English, because English is the basis of how we operate within the agency, as we are quite a diverse multinational organization. Okay. And the last slide we'll touch on is on the remuneration. I'm sure this is of interest to everyone. Okay. So remuneration, how will you be paid? So as mentioned a few times, as we are part of the UN Common System, we basically follow the similar process as all other UN organizations. So here, you can actually get access to our pay information or our salary information with the International Civil Service Commission website. We have shown a little bit of the homepage here for you, as well as you can also get some information from our website as well. So either one or the other, you'll be able to have access. You'll be able to access more information in terms of what we offer.
Thank you very much, Christine. And this is Stefan again. We now move to the creating a profile part of this presentation, which is, of course, is your business card, if you will. It's your presentation to the recruiters and to the hiring manager. So we have a number of sections that you have to fill. But let's start from the very beginning. Once you have identified the position you're interested in, you will need to create an online profile. Please note, and this is very important, that you only need to create one general profile, and you can use this one in order to apply to different positions in the agency. It is extremely important also to note that I would say a good application process takes at least 1 hour to be completed. And it's important that you make time for this. And if I may give you an advice, don't wait until the very last minute to submit your application, but do it in advance. I mean, don't wait until the deadline expiry date. As I said before, the personal profile that you create is very important, and it will represent you. It will give us an idea of your background, your interest in working with the agency. Please note that we don't consider personal CVs and resume and applications that are not submitted through the online platform. Each profile has a number of sections, beginning with the resume upload. So you will have a choice to upload your resume or to fill out the online submission manually. If you choose to upload your resume, please keep in mind that you may have to reformat it and the information you provide once the document has been uploaded. This is for, as I said before, formatting and layout reasons. If we move now to the following slide, personal information, this section requires you to fill out your personal information. Of course, it goes without saying that every time that you fill a section, you have to save all the information you provide, otherwise you will lose it. It is important when filling your personal information to ensure that your contact details are accurate. Otherwise, of course, we will not be able to get in touch with you and to approach you in case we want to invite you to the next steps of the process. If I can give you a small tip, it is important that you, for example, you always include 2 email addresses. So, for example, your business email address and your personal one. Should you change job, should you change company, at least we will have your personal email address where we can contact you. Education, moving to the next slide. This section, it is important because here you can list all your educational qualifications, starting with your most recent one. We recommend that you start with the most recent one and ideally also to follow possible in order, so maybe the highest degree, and I don't know, if you have, for example, a master's degree, and then your first level university degree, and then other certifications or non-degree programs that you might have obtained in the past. It is also important to note that if you choose to select your institution in the related hyperlink, and you don't find it, because it is also possible that it is not there, you always have the possibility to insert it manually. So basically, you just have to type it. And now we move to the slide about employment records. So this is key information that you provide to the recruiters and to the hiring manager. It is extremely important that you fill this part properly and that you dedicate enough time to this section, and please review it before submitting or finalizing it. Try to use powerful words that describe your actual contribution. Try to use meaningful verbs such as created, reorganized, initiated. Note that passive statements like did, perform, or was involved in not always indicate in a clear way your level of involvement and your level of contribution to certain deliverables. Try to use words that show that you actually made a difference in what you're looking for. It is also important that you describe the start, middle, and the end. So mention the starting condition, for example, poor performance, high costs, unplatable risk, and follow with a statement of what you made happen. So the project, the change initiative, and so on and so forth. And try to cap it off with the result and if the desired outcome was actually achieved. Try to also quantify the achievement. Try to put them in a very tangible and measurable way. Use numbers and hard measures when you can. For example, in my capacity, I saved $50,000 rather than being generic and say saved operating costs. So this will give us a concrete idea of your actual contribution. The more specific you are, the greater the value of your statement of achievement is. In almost all cases, a percentage value has a higher impact than an absolute number. So it is important also when you can that you put percentages. In some cases, what might look like a minor achievement when it is quantified could actually have a major, it could be perceived as a major achievement by the others, by the recruiters in this case. And don't forget also to mention overachievement, meaning that if you have exceeded the targets, it is extremely important that you mention it in a measurable and tangible way. Indicate also your personal awards. Some achievements warrant special rewards, so mention them. Don't be shy. If you were promoted or awarded a bonus, then put it in writing and make sure that we see that. Include details about challenging circumstances. If the achievement was tough due, for example, to the business events or a difficult condition, then make sure that you say that you clarify that. It is important to describe the challenges that you face in performing your duties and carry out your tasks. Another important element is to state the effect of achievement on a, let's say, what we call 360-degree style. So describe the achievement not just from your own perspective, but also describe it in terms of what you meant for your colleagues, for your stakeholders, for your clients, for the management. And again, don't forget to quantify the effect for each of these achievements to your client group too. An important thing when filling out this section is that you always have, for obvious reasons, a maximum number of characters that you can type. So make sure that you provide all relevant information, but in a concise way. And now we can move to the following slide, which is about references. If you have applied for positions with other UN entities, you're probably familiar with this part, meaning that we always ask candidates to include at least 3 referees, which should not be the previous supervisors listed in the employment records, but could be somebody who is familiar with your qualifications and your experience, and also maybe with your character and personality, but who is not directly related to you. So, for example, could be a university professor, could be a colleague, could be, I don't know, somebody you worked with in the past. It is extremely important to say that the list of referees that you provide is not for immediate use, meaning that we are not going to contact these people when the selection process is still ongoing, but only at a later stage, and you will be informed in any way before we do that. So we don't approach them without your prior consent and authorization. We have the following slide, which covers some general questions. Again, this is more like sort of formal steps. We need to gather some information about you. For example, one question is about I don't know if you've ever been subject to disciplinary proceedings against you in terms of misconduct and that result in disciplinary sanctions from your organization or company. So, or if, what else? Have you ever been subject to prosecution or arrested? Again, bear in mind the confidentiality of this information. So nobody other than the recruiters and the hiring manager will have access to this information, which will not be, of course, disclosed to anybody else and will be treated with the highest level of confidentiality and discretion. So please rest assured about that. And then we move to the following slide, where we have extended profile questions, which are specific to the position you apply for. So, for example, how many years of experience do you have within an international organization? Do you have experience in the following areas? For example, nuclear non-proliferation or nuclear security and nuclear safety, peaceful use of nuclear technologies. So these questions are related to the position you apply to. You might be, I mean, we only have a few here, but in some cases we actually have a long list of questions that the candidates are asked to respond to. And then we go to the part about employment preferences, which is a section that is meant for applicants to indicate their employment preferences, conditions, and interests. For example, the professional areas you are interested in. If you are interested and or available for part-time or on-call jobs, and also the job type, so the job category, the type of capacity that you're interested in, for example, staff, consultant, intern, or short-term staff. Again, here you have only some options which can be selected, and there is no free text possibility. We will also ask you to provide us with an advance notice, or the notice that you have to give in order prior to join the agency, if an offer shall be issued to you, and if you are willing to travel and up to a percentage of the working time. Now we cover the cover letter part, and it's over to Pier Mario.
Thank you, Stefano. Back to me, Pier Mario. So we're at the last two steps of the application process. The first one of the last two will be about the cover letter. So you will be asked to enter a cover letter in your application. And the cover letter is a personal introduction that accompanies your application. The goal of the cover letter is to describe how your experience, qualifications, and competencies match the job for which you are applying. Think of your cover letter as an opportunity to distinguish yourself from other applicants by highlighting what makes you the best fit for the position. Your cover letter should not be too brief or too long, approximately 3 to 4 paragraphs, and as targeted as possible to the position for which you're applying. Focus on the most relevant parts of your background that relates to the job opening. Customizing the cover letter is the easiest way for you to demonstrate that you have clearly read and understood the job opening. You can see also on the slide some hints and tips for you to use to make to write an effective cover letter. Moving on to the last step of the application, there will be the e-signature and the review and submit. Okay. So. At the end, when you have completed your application, you will have to sign and enter in the unique identifier. And once you will do that, then your submission will be complete. Of course, after you click on Submit button. When you go back, you will be able to and you log back in. Maybe the next day, you will see that in your My Job page, you will see all the application that you either have submitted or saved in draft. So you always be in control of your application, and you also see the status of such application. So again, let's make sure that you click the button Submit, okay, not just Save, but just saving the application that will not reach the recruitment team. Also, if I can, please remember to not to wait until the last minute. You never know if there will be a technical problem, internet will be down, whatever might be the case. So we always suggest to give at least 2 to 3 days before to make sure that you have enough time to make sure that you can submit your application. This concludes the application process. So I will turn it back to my colleague Dalia.
Thank you. So now here are a few tips that you need to consider when applying for a vacancy. Please make sure your profile is up to date. Ensure all sections of the application are completed. Outline responsibilities in your own words. Make it easy for recruiters and hiring managers to find information. And customize your profile in relation to the vacancy position. Ensure all relevant experience is included. Proofread your application before submitting it. And take time to respond to the pre-screening questions. If you have submitted your job application successfully, you will promptly receive an automated acknowledgement by email. And your application is evaluated in terms of experience, education, and skills. Only if it is determined that you meet most or all of the requirements, you'll be contacted for the next stage in the recruitment process. Over here on this slide, you can see all of the vacancies that are available at the IAEA webpage. These are the different filters that you can use on our official employment page to search for vacancies that best suit your profession. So now we have concluded the end of our webinar. As mentioned earlier, you can find out more about our job opportunities on our official webpage. This is at www.iaea.org/employment. You can also find most of our positions posted online when you follow the agency on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. We typically hold monthly webinars to help professionals like you learn about our work and our job offers. Webinars covers areas such as introducing the IAEA, recruitment process, how to prepare for an interview with the agency, conditions of employment, benefits, and entitlements. On our employment page, you will see a link to previous webinars, which we hope will be useful to you. As of course, some of the information in these past recordings will become more and more outdated, we will repeat some of these topics in the near future in order to keep you informed about the latest developments at the agency. So now we have come to the conclusion of our webinar, and we have some time to dedicate to your questions. Please use the WebEx chat function to communicate with us. Please note that we will not be able to answer all questions and are also not able to provide feedback on specific applications or vacancies. If, when registering for this webinar, you selected that you would like to be kept informed about recruitment activities at the agency, we will add you to our mailing list and send you a monthly update on positions that may be of interest to you. In the meantime, thank you very much for your time. We hope this webinar was useful to you, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Hello, this is Christine. We have a question from a participant who is asking if they could get a French translation of the presentation. Just to let you know that our intention is also to have additional webinars in all the other six official languages. So please stay tuned to our webinar series, and hopefully you can join us for the French webinar session.
This is Stefano. There is a question about the possibility of streamlining the recruitment procedures. The question I'm reading now says, while I understand that it takes time to recruit for a position, sometimes it can be 3-4 months after completing the thorough interview before you even hear back about an application, which is not always ideal when looking for a job. First of all, let me clarify what thorough interview is for those who are not familiar with. It's a sort of, it's a pre-screening tool, so an asynchronous interview that usually candidates who have been shortlisted for a professional post have to go through. The times varies depending on the position and depending on the also on the how can I say, professional engagement of the hiring manager. Unfortunately, when you invite a high number of candidates to complete a survey, it takes time to review them to make a thorough, fair, and transparent assessment. Please also bear in mind that there are different levels, as I said before, of to ensure the transparency of the process. So everything has to be recorded, everything has to be certified, and this can take some time. But definitely we are looking into the direction where the recruitment process is, as the participants say, streamlined and faster.
Hi, we have another question from a participant, which states, is there a possibility for contract extension upon completion of, let's say, 3 years contract? So in the vacancy announcement, it usually states the duration of the contract and the type of contract. So any contract extension, there could be a possibility, again, depending on the type of contract. And as Stefano had earlier mentioned, any contract extension would be based upon programmatic funding, programmatic needs, funding, as well as satisfactory work performance. Here at the Agency for Professional Staff, there is a maximum tour of service, and that's normally a maximum of 7 years. I hope that answers your question.
This is Stefan again. We have a question. If the status of the vacancy is we are reviewing all applications, does this mean I may still be shortlisted? Yes, possibly yes. However, all the candidates that are invited to a sort of assessment, that could be a SONRU, asynchronous interview, a written test, or a panel interview, are notified in due course.
So we have a question. Is it mandatory or necessary to have a LinkedIn profile? No, it's not mandatory or necessary to have a LinkedIn profile. In fact, when I actually created my profile for the agency's consideration for the position I currently have, I actually used the basis of my CV and actually filled out the application process from scratch. So I hope that helps.
Okay, so there's another question about the age of the applicant. So how are 50-plus senior candidates considered? So that's an easy one. We don't discriminate based on age. So there will be, again, the consideration will be done on the skills, capabilities, experience of the candidates, not about the age, the sex, the religion, and anything about the person himself or herself in this case. Okay.
Just to add to that under the UN Common System, the mandatory age of separation or retirement for UN staff is the age of 65. So we just wanted to mention that to you. We have a question. During the process, you ask for publication sometime. What if the publication are not public for business or safety reasons? So just to touch a little bit on publication, so some of our technical positions do require candidates with advanced university degree or even PhD level. So as such, for those publications, listing the publications would allow the panelists who are evaluating your application and understanding of what you've done. Of course, these publications need to be public. They cannot be anything that perhaps if you have signed a non-confidential agreement or if it's not public, you cannot list that, and we respect that agreement that you have made. So other than that, we do ask you if you do indicate any publication, it should be public. Thank you.
We received a question that says, is it possible for me to get the recording video you made out during this presentation? This webinar will be published on our IAEA website in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So you'll be able to look back at this webinar as well as past webinars for you to use. It is going to be on the IAEA employment page.
We have a participant who asked in terms of the time frame for recruitment process. Here within the agency, we hope to complete the process, of course, as soon as possible. However, as mentioned earlier, we do have to ensure that the process is followed as per our internal procedures. But normally, it could take anywhere between 6 to 8 months for the process to be completed. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, this is Stefan again. We have a question. For the achievements and description of duty section, is it enough to list bullet points, or are you looking for a write-up? I mean, you can definitely use bullet points, no doubt. The important thing is that you try to stick to somehow what we say. So try to be measurable, try to be concise, try to give us a concrete idea of your experience, your achievements, and your expertise. So it's not really the format, but it's more the content. Thank you.
All right, so that is the end of all of the questions. Thank you very much once again for attending this webinar. As stated, this will be posted on our official employment page within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.